Hi there. I'd like to welcome Francesca Zambello today, who is very well known and has had a very distinguished career as a director of opera, musicals, and theater all over the country and literally all over the world. Francesca is also artistic and general director of the Glimmerglass Festival in Cooperstown, New York, as well as artistic director of Washington National Opera at the Kennedy Center. So, Francesca, hello.
Hi, Greg. It's great to see here and be with you.
It's great to see you. Now, a lot of people know about your career, particularly in opera, which you have a great affinity and love for. But a lot of people don't know that you have a history with Peninsula Players Theater that goes back a little ways.
Way, way back, for which I am extremely grateful. My mother was Jean Sincere, who was an actress. She passed away 6 years ago, but she began her career as an actress in the mid 1930s at the Peninsula Players, when I feel like it was a group of intrepid actors
Mhm.
doing, in a way, kind of old-fashioned great repertory theater where they would rehearse a show, put it up for a week, simultaneously rehearse another show. And I know that for her, the Peninsula Players held an extremely fond place in her heart. She was from Chicago originally, and she trained at the Goodman Theater, and it was very important to her all during those years in the 1930s. And then she basically left Chicago and moved to New York and began to pursue a career as an actress. Um, and then, shall I fast forward?
Oh, sure. I did want to say that Jean was a wonderful actress, and I actually got to do a show with her once,
Oh, really?
a
Okay.
production of On Golden Pond at Northlight with Bob Thompson. But
Oh,
yes,
how great.
yes,
That's one I remember. She had great fondness for that production.
yes, and she was so good in it. She was a terrific person. And so, yes, you want to fast forward.
Yeah, well, w then she had a career in New York and on Broadway, and regional theater. My father was an actor when they met, and then he decided to get a job. So he worked for TWA, starting as a flight attendant and eventually becoming an executive. And then when I was born, we left New York and moved to Kansas, where my mother was doing summer stock all the time, and which is where I actually fell in love with theater when I was about 5 or 6 years old, at the Starlight Theater, which was a
Uh-huh.
huge outdoor venue there. And she acted my whole life. Then, as I grew up, we moved back to New York, and then we moved to Europe when I was in junior high school. And she had a big career in France and in Austria, doing a lot of theater in English and touring in those countries, and a big career dubbing. So it was when I was in high school, I was never really interested in performing, but I was always interested in the storytelling, which I'm sure every director starts from that, whether it's like puppets in the basement or directing all your friends what to do. And
Hmm.
so she was invited back to the Players, and this, I think, was the summer of 1974, to
Yes.
do Nurse Ratched in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Uh-huh.
And I applied to be an intern or an apprentice, whatever they were called at that point. And so I went there for the summer. I was just graduating from high school, and I worked all summer. And again, that was back when I think there were like 7 or 8 shows, and there was a
Yeah.
company of actors, and we all lived in our various, huts around the campus. And it was, for me, a phenomenal training program. Phenomenal, because, like, many of these programs even now, and now running several of them, I learned really how to build scenery, how to build costumes. I learned about technical theater. I learned about stage management. I learned about box office. I learned about audience connection. Uh, and all that while working shows every night, stage right, stage left, the electrics board, back when it was like a manual board, all of
Yes.
that. And my mother was there part of the summer doing the lead in that, and it was a phenomenal summer. I lived over the box office, or wherever the box office used to be,
Yes, that's my
and
office now.
oh, is okay. It was nice. And then we had all the meals communally. There was a communal kitchen where there
Hmm.
was a wonderful cook, and who definitely overfed everybody with amazing Midwestern light cuisine. And then just the nights on the lake, late at night, jumping in the lake. And so for me, I only spent one summer there, but it was really important because now, however many years later, that it's a long time, 84, 94, you know, almost 45 years later, it's in the one of the companies that I run, the Glimmerglass Festival, has a very large apprentice slash internship program of about 50 kids who work in every aspect of production and administration, as well as another 50 kids who are young artists, young opera singers. And but that summer there was incredibly important to me and my development.
So you went around to a lot of the areas, and I think you actually were in a show too, weren't you?
I think I had a walk on in one of the shows. I can't honestly, I can't remember which one. I think it was a walk on, but it might have been Cuckoo's Nest. But then for me, it was really after that. I then went on to college at Colgate University and did theater all through college, and then moved to New York City after that. So I really look back on the Peninsula Players as an amazing learning experience, and then I had a kind of interesting connection with downstate years later in
Mhm.
Milwaukee, where I ran the Skylight Theater for 6 years as artistic director during my late 20s. So I had kind of like some good Midwestern years.
Yes, you did. You did. It's so nice to hear that your experience as an intern there was valuable to you later.
I know that you still have that's part of your programming and a part of
Yes.
what you do. And I just think I can't, I always speak about how important it is in the theater, that in the theater, you know, you learn by doing and by
Hmm.
watching people and by the experience of engaging in the process. And I think academic theater is fantastic, but having the pressure of, you know, getting the show done, getting it ready for an audience, the professional pressures, understanding what they are,
Right. And
uh,
yeah.
and it is a wonderful thing. I don't know how big the internship program is now there, but I'm sure that it's an important part of your thinking and programming.
Oh, very much so. We now hire about 10 interns.
Uh-huh.
Two work in administration, and the other eight work on in the various shops.
Uh-huh. Great.
And literally, we could not do a season at the Players without them.
Yeah.
They're incredibly important, and we try to do a very good job of rewarding them and
Hmm.
offering them seminars,
Right.
using
Yeah.
the talents from our company to
Right.
help them. And I'm sure, as I'm sure you do, and also we emphasize the importance of making connections with the professionals in the
Yeah.
company,
Yeah.
because that will lead to work in Chicago, anywhere else
Well,
around there.
and of course, the Players has such a great connection to Chicago, and
Yes.
theater and opera in Chicago are so much a part of that scene, and
Mhm.
Milwaukee as well, and Madison. So I think you're doing an invaluable service, and I agree with you. I feel this sort of real weight of responsibility to make sure that our interns and apprentices and young artists, that we try to help them get a job. I always say, like, we're job trainers.
Yes, yes. I mean, and they're the future of theater.
Right.
And it's
Absolutely.
fantastic to me that they are so dedicated and
Mm,
work so hard and love it so much. And
right.
we've been very, very lucky there. In the time that you were at the Players, that was that one season. Did you have any adventures?
Oh my God. Well, that I mean, I mean, I guess I just look back at, like, doing strike and setup all night. I guess it was on a Sunday night, and
Yes.
then Monday was dark, and then it was, like, Tuesday was dress rehearsal tech and open Wednesday. And I think I really learned, now, of course, we seem to tech and rehearse longer for everything, but I learned, the incredible importance of that. And I just had so much fun that summer. I worked, 16 hours a day, which,
Right.
people, when we work in the theater, that's often the case. But
Yes.
I got a taste of it early on. And like I said, it was an invaluable learning experience. And just sort of indelible in my mind. And I think, anybody who's had a great experience, whatever they do, you're an associate in a law firm or you're a resident in a hospital, those experiences shape you so much. And I think it
Mhm.
just gave me, um, really the respect for what a career demands,
Mhm.
and the discipline that you have to have if you want to work in the theater is
Mhm.
more than people could ever understand until they're actually doing it.
Yes. And it involves a lot of love for that because the work you put in is tremendous.
It's tremendous. And of course, all the fun things like the other end, that cottage way down at the other end, which was, sort of, crawling with wild animals when you'd walk down there at night,
Yes.
and all of that. But it was a actually, for me too, it was a wonderful connection to have with my mother and see that, her connection, and then eventually meeting some of the people who started the company, like, um, Basil Rathbone and, oh god,
Basil Rathbone's son, Rodion,
Rodian and Dunya
and
Rathbone, all
eh,
of those people,
yes,
and Bob Thompson. It the legacy of theater is such a wonderful thing now. Of course, being older, Greg, we're a little older, but you
yeah,
know, the
little,
the the wonderful thing of passing on a little bit of knowledge and learning from young people. And so all of that connection to the past, there were all these old posters on the wall,
yes,
and just seeing, that history of American theater was it just made such an incredible impression on me.
yes. I mean, I've been lucky enough to have traversed the generation before into
Hmm.
this one and
Right.
been very, very aware of the history and the contributing factors that go into it and the
Yeah.
development of the theater. We built a new one in 2006, and I remember looking at Glimmerglass, and what I noted was that, oh my goodness, it's the idea of it, the open airness, the rusticity of it
Yeah.
was, I think, very important to you.
Right. Well, Glimmerglass was designed by Hugh Hardy, and Uh, what's wonderful is he was inspired by a barn, because we're in rural New York, but also there's a very famous opera house in, Bayreuth, Germany, which was Richard Wagner's theater, called Bayreuth. And he used this sense of the barn meets Bayreuth and the mix of wood, but the sides can open and close in our theater because we do a lot of matinees.
Hmm.
But I did visit the new theater, and I am very grateful. My brother and I put, my mother's ashes, in the lake there, and some, uh, I think, in the garden.
In the garden,
And
yes.
because it's just that to her was sort of, I think, the beginning of her world in the theater, and meant so much. And it was just a place that I knew that she always had peace.
Yes, and I live in a log cabin near the other end, and in front of my cabin by the water is a bench that you and your brother Larry bought in honor of Jean. So I get to look at that every day, which is really, really wonderful. And people sit in it all the time.
Oh, that makes me happy.
Yeah.
That makes me very happy. Well, uh, I'm very grateful to both my parents for bringing me into the world of theater and music, and I'm grateful to have this conversation, Greg. And I wish you and all your colleagues much success as we face the new world ahead of us in terms of creating live theater.
And to you also. Francesca, thank you so much for chatting today. It's great to see you.
It's
And I
great to
wish
see
you all the best as we're going forward.
you too, Greg. You
All right.
too. Take care.
Take,
Thank you.
take care.
Bye bye.
Bye.